Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Talk and Torque. Kind of feel like I have to reintroduce myself. My name's Colin Livingston. I am the owner and operator of this fine business called Cantork Incorporated. We manufacture, design, and produce industrial torque tools, tension tools, and related accessories. Been a few weeks since we were able to jump on. Lots of racing got in the way and lots of life. And, frankly, it was just a lot and, took a little bit of a break. But glad to be back here. Lots has gone on. We were kicked off regular radio when our local sports radio station shut down here a few months ago. Happy that our main group, led by Jason Greger, have come back from the dead with brand new Sports 1440 here in Edmonton. Glad to have the Cantork Race Report back with them. It's been awesome getting back in studio again, feeling like we can have actual conversations instead of just kind of chatting through the computer. We finished our NASCAR season here basically 2 weeks ago. Absolute crying shame of a race. We're going to get into that a little bit more once we bring in our. I think we just agreed we're going to call him a co-host slash guest. Our first returning participant of Talk and Torque, Daryl Harr, will join us here in a few minutes. I think I gave him a bit of a heart attack because he thought we were getting ready to talk, and we're not quite ready to go there yet. But karting season is basically done. On paper, I probably had one of my best ever kart seasons. I ended up winning 6 races this year, including the 2 big dollar events that we had, our Alberta, the Summer Challenge that we run at EDKRA, and also won my part of CKRC, the Track in Calgary's North 49 event, which included the pole awards, the Super Pole Award. Kind of ran the board with all that. So pretty good season, and yet somehow, just because I didn't do enough races, and the races that I didn't win, I either pulled out early because I was having mechanical issues, or just didn't want to stay on track because I didn't want to clean my cart in the rain. I'm not sure where I finished overall. I'm actually going to look that up, but I think I finished 5th or 6th, even though I won. I won five races on our calendar. The North 49 event didn't count on for the season, but overall, really good year. When we had things rolling, things were going great, and again, when they didn't, and that happens, just weren't able to mitigate the damage on the bad night. So let's see here. I'm 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I finished 7th. How is that possible? That doesn't make any sense. I got to go back and get a recount here because that just doesn't seem right. But there's no prizing outside of the number one, and that's fine. We'll be ready for next year. I think the guys knew that when I was running, I was there and did some damage. Now, one thing I've wanted to do for a long time on the show, and I've never been able to figure out how to do it. I wanted to incorporate my phone as a second camera and kind of walk through and do a tour of the building, but could never really work out the logistics of how to switch from one to the other. So what I did earlier today is I just cobbled together a couple of videos with audio, and you'll get a little tour of my office, a little tour of the main shop, and hopefully you like it. Anybody who's watching on YouTube, we can actually see your comments and your questions, so feel free to fire them away. But here you go. I think this is about 7 minutes, and I'll be back.
Hey everybody, Colin Livingston here, Talkin Torque Podcast, Can Torque Race Report, and whatever else nonsense I happen to be spewing on any given day. Been off the air for a while and happy to be back. Glad to be back with Jason Greger on Sports 1440 here in Edmonton, which can also be streamed live on Thursday afternoons. We're also going to be kicking off our fall season of Talkin Torque, and took me a while to figure out how to do this, but I want to start by giving everyone a quick tour of our facility. Those of you who are new to Cantork, we are located on the west end of Edmonton, 146th Street, 119th Avenue. Kind of a cool day here. Been very windy the last couple of days, but this is what you can come to expect if you ever pay us a visit. We often hear what a clean race shop or clean shop we have, and we can't deny that, but this is completely unprepared. So we've got, my areas tend to be the messiest in the shop. This is where we run our go-kart business, where we sell, distribute, service, CRG, race karts. We have some of my old karts, some customer karts, and obviously a few more toys. This is our hospitality vehicle, our two-seat former NASCAR Pinty Series race car that we can take out and do exhibition events. But lots of parts and pieces. Things are a little bit chaotic here. We just finished our race season and have started offloading everything. And this is one of our general favorites, is our racing simulator. Full motion machine, lets us play around and maybe stay in shape for the race season. One of the next stops on the tour is our calibration room. In here we can test, adjust, repair virtually any make or model of mechanical torque tool up to 1,000 foot-pounds. We also have a gauge calibration station, which will let us calibrate pressure gauges up to 25,000 psi. And everything is completely temperature controlled for heat and for cool. We do need to stay at 20 degrees plus or minus 2 degrees. Because we carry such a wide range and manufacture a wide range of tools, we need to keep an awful lot of parts. So here's a small sampling of mostly our low-profile RT series hydraulic wrenches with mostly all disassembled. This is how all of our manufacturing runs come to us. We then either engrave or otherwise identify our parts so we can distinguish them if we get multiple runs over a period of time. And then over here is mostly our pump inventory, and one of our favorites is our laser engraving. The next stop on our tour, the main part of our rental and repair shop. Lots of tools available for rental, lots of torque pumps, some orders going out the door, calibration. We've got one of our guys working on a torque pump. And then we get into the very back where we've got all of our new sales inventory. Some of my junk, again, this is just a informal tour. Didn't exactly take a lot of time to prepare, but stocking sockets up to 9 1/4 inch across the flats. We also have them in 225 millimeter. Spline drive sockets, in-hex sockets, a lot of our tools that are ready for sale. Welcome to the actual last stop on the tour. This is my office. Pretty decent selection of helmets that I've acquired, almost exclusively from my boy Alex over the years. This is definitely the messiest of the stops. One of my favorite helmets, although I never really wore it. I think I only used it once in competition as my Deadpool helmet, which was very, very well painted to the point of actually creating contour or texture, I should say, by our good friend and former crew member, Dustin Hudima. Lots of memorabilia. Racing's been pretty good to me over the years. I'm going to try and avoid most of the mess on my desk. This is the latest helmet. This was Alex's Cantor themed helmet that he ran last year. Saskatoon winning helmet. Very appreciative for having that. This is where my Talkin Torque studio is, which also doubles as my desk. Little conference room. This is the video screen, has all of my security cameras, so when you see, this is what I generally look at as we're on air, and you'll see my eyes divert up to the TV once in a while just as something catches my attention. That's why. But then again, conference room table, second backdrop, because we can also run guest here in my office, second camera and second mic. And there's your pretty much complete tour of my office and of the shop. Would be remiss if I did not go back and show my encounter. This was a picture I took of Mr. Palmer back in, let's say, 2007. Had the privilege of meeting and getting to play one hole of golf with him and Peter Jacobson at my home course of Blackhawk here in Edmonton. And then this goes back to about, I don't know, I can't really read, about 2013, I want to say, the Hyundai Tournament of Champions Pro-Am, where we got matched up with Jason Duffner, which was especially cool because his caddy, Kevin Bale, was a Red Deer boy, and we got to have quite a good chat during our round. Once again, thanks for watching, and tune in this evening for today's episode of Talkin Torque.
Yeah, so not too bad for a schmuck kid from Stony Plain to cobble that video together. Honestly, it didn't take all that long. Surprisingly, I was able to lay down all that copy in a single take for each one of those shots. So most of the time when I shoot these things, I fump for a word, I trip over something, I say something, and then I get frustrated and have to start over again. But it was a little bit of fun today. I mean, it was a pretty busy day. I probably shouldn't have taken the time to run through the shop and do all that nonsense. But anywho, we are now 15 minutes into our return show here. Like I said, we've got our good friend, the only in torquing talk. See, like that. See, that's what I normally do in Talkin Torque history. The only ever return guest. I mean, I think that maybe means that we've scared too many people off. But good friend, I don't know what we call him, the general manager of Westworld Computers, one of Canada's best stock car racers that we've ever produced, and just all around great guy, Mr. Daryl Harr. Daryl, how you doing, man? Hold on a second. Let's try that.
There we go. How's that?
Hey, Daryl.
Check.
How you doing?
I'm good. Thanks for having me
back.
That,
as far as a technical mistake, that's not nearly as bad as when I had my friend Troy Shellamy in here, and we got going, and man, we were 20 minutes into the episode and realized that we weren't actually live. We were just sitting here talking to each other, and had to go and do a second take. So, sorry that I cut you off there for a few seconds.
It's all good. We're race car drivers. We should just have mic buttons on a steering wheel here, so we just push to talk, and we can always hear the second word we intend to say. They always get cut off.
The cool thing is, you guys at Westworld could actually probably come up with something for us to do that. Your combination of racecraft and IT and hardware support, we could come up with like a steering wheel setup.
I was going to say there's plenty of steering wheels. I think we have many here. I probably have some at my race car shop. We can find some push to talk buttons. We can make this happen. Absolutely.
I don't hate this idea. I'm good at listening when I race because I'm not a stock car guy. I'm a go-karter. So we wear like a one-way radio, a receiver. Our race director will talk to us. I'm very comfortable with that. When I go to the stock car side, I'm very good at talking. I'm a spotter. I boss my driver around, so I'm good at that. But this might be a little bit foreign, but as long as I got a steering wheel in my hand, I think I might be even a little bit more comfortable than what I've tried to become here. Whatever this is, I think I'm going to look this up, but I think this is episode 23 already of Talkin.
I've almost been on 10% of your episodes. That's actually pretty impressive for me.
Well, more impressive that you keep coming back.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I could hit. Yeah. I think, Push to Talk might be the name of my podcast when I start that, because I'll just have steering wheels around the table. So it's kind of like the listening stick when you have the stick, or the talking stick. When when you go to therapy with your partner, you have to have the stick in your hand to talk. It's just going to be therapy for race car drivers and spotters.
You know too much about the talking circle, and this is probably why we only socialize here and not really anywhere outside of the office, because I don't think I would do so good with that, that culture. Yeah, this is hold on, this is number 23.
Congrats.
Holy moly. But I shouldn't have closed that. I want to see, the last one we did was August 22nd. So yeah, we're coming off of a 6-week hiatus.
Wow.
But again, the end of the year got so crazy. We had, I'm going back to look at my September calendar. I was racing NASCAR the first weekend in September. I did a go-kart race the second weekend. My cousin was married in Ontario. Congratulations, Carter and Kelly. And thank you very much once again for having us out. We had an absolute blast, minus COVID. The weekend after the wedding was our last race in Delaware, and then I had to make a trip down to the States. So it's been a little cuckoo bananas here. But were you able to catch any of the Pinty's races?
You know what? The only one I caught was the one that I went to where I saw you in Wetaskiwin, and that was it. That was it for me this year. I have been just flying all over myself. Last time I was at the racetrack was in August when I was helping Rob Holland down in the SRO GT America Series in Nashville. We were companion race to the Indy Series down there. He led both races flag to flag. I was the senior team director that race, so got that on my resume now.
You managed to get a win.
That's right. Managed to get away with it too. Yeah,
nice.
2 wins actually. It was a doubleheader weekend, so that was nice. But that was the last time I was at the racetrack, and honestly, one of the last times I've watched much for racing if it wasn't on some sort of a highlight reel here that TSN played or something like that. So,
well, I wanted to save our NASCAR Pinty's finale race, but I was hoping you'd seen it. So we're going to have to do this from a different angle, and I'm hoping we've got another guest supposed to be jumping online here at some point, so we might be able to rehash it there. But our last race, and I'm not trying to make this about me. I know you can jump in though.
You were there. You get the best view of the races. So honestly, out of anybody to describe this for me, you're the man.
Aside
and your listeners,
from the driver's perspective, yeah, we get a pretty good bird's eye view of what's going on from the spotter stand. Delaware is it's an especially funny track. I mean, the track is amazing.
I raced Delaware. I raced it back in my day, but I'm sure it's changed quite a bit. I'm sure they must have repaved it.
Yes.
80 years old when I raced it.
They got rid of the gravel here about 3 years ago. No, I mean, great track. Now a bunch of our friends, former NASCAR people like Alex Nagy, Sean Gibbs, Pete Goddler, and Robin Caddio, they were all NASCAR employees. They're like Delaware Speedway employees now. They run that ACT series there, and great to be able to catch up with them and see these folks. Just very very fond of all of them. But where we stand, we're generally at a racetrack. We're at the top of the grandstand, or we're in Saskatoon, we go on top of the broadcast building. In Wetaskiwin, we're on top of the sea cans. At Delaware, Delaware is similar in a lot of ways to Saskatoon, where the track is mostly underground. It's a recessed track, concrete stands, and then we're just at the top of that. So there's like a broadcast tower. But what's funny is people come and try and interact with us while we're working. And it's like, guys, we can't talk to you. Like, if there's a caution, maybe we can, what's that? Where's the popcorn? Down there. So it's kind of interesting, and people will, because we're just sitting on like a concrete ledge, like we're standing obviously on this concrete ledge, fans will come and just like sit between us. And it's like, no, you got to get out of here, because we have to be able to walk and we have to be able to move. Because if, the last race, DJ Spotter was beside me, and then Trayton Lapsovich spotter, Kenny Katu, who's, we're all on the same team. And, Kenny and I are, I don't want to say we always got along great, but we become very good friends. We look out for each other, and that whole spotters stand is, it's a very self-supporting community. But as one guy kind of leans forward, you've got to be able to walk around, and then so if there's people sitting there, it's like, hey, get the hell out of the way, you
all
bozo.
These ex-NASCAR officials would have figured that out and put some caution tape and said spotters at work or something like that.
But the thing is, we're just on, like, it's a 2-foot high concrete step.
Wow.
And then it's open. So where do you put the tape? Like, we go to Sunset, and we've got a taped off area. Or we go like it's funny. I mean,
a big Zoom boom or something and pile you all on there. Not coming down till the race is over. Have fun.
It's when we're at Chaudière in Quebec. They put us at the top of the stands in kind of a corralled area, but because the individual rows are so wide, when people need to go buy a beer, go to the bathroom, get a sandwich, they don't want to go out to the side. They'll climb backwards, and they push us out of the way to say like, I don't care what you're doing, I need another Bud Light. Like, it's so funny. But interesting race at Delaware. Like, we were running not well in the first half, and it's like,
how many cars were there? Like set the scene for me here. How many cars?
22, 23. So of note, we had from our regular cast of characters, but we also had Noel Gregson.
Okay.
And I did say Noah, not Noel. I just want to make sure that I got that right. And Amber Balkan. So I don't know if you know of Amber, Canadian female driver. She was one of the ones when Budweiser had their campaign of, like, there were 9 female drivers from a variety of series that were going to, apparently get funding. I don't think they ever actually did. She was running in ARCA, and then throughout the year did a bunch of local and Ontario races. She was in the field, but basically it was the regular cast of characters.
That's cool.
We had tested there. NASCAR rule is you can't test within a week of the race, so we were there like 10 days before. And a lot of the issues that Alex has been complaining about all year, because we have 3 cars, basically, not we within the 18 team, but within Steckley, 22 Racing, there's 3 oval cars. So we've got Trayton's car, the number 20. We've got Alex on the 18, and from time to time, Kyle Steckley will run the 20. And for whatever reason, what the crews were doing on the 20 and the 22 worked, but we would try and do the same thing, and it just didn't work the same way on our car. And of course, because Alex is so meticulous with his detail, a lot of the times, even our crew will often, I'm not speaking for anyone, I'm just saying in very, very general terms, will interpret well, he's just complaining because we did it on this car and we did.
Yeah.
So it was interesting because at one point Kyle got into Alex's car before.
I was going to ask if there was some car swapping going on.
Well, because the test got called kind of last second, Alex had to drive from Montreal. You know, to get from Montreal to Delaware is like an 8-hour drive. Like it's well on the backside of Toronto. So in the first part of the session, Kyle got in the car and he comes out. He's like, "This thing's undrivable." Like, what do you mean? He's like, it's so loose. Like it kind of pushes on entry. And when you get to a point, it's like, it snaps. He's like, there's like, if this is the way it was when we were at, you know, Osh weekend, if this is the way, cause you know, Kyle hears what Alex is talking about is like, there's no, like, I can't drive this car.
Or what they find. Yes. Yeah. I'm loving this. This is a great setup. I'm on the edge of my seat. Well,
it looks like you're fully engaged in it. So
you know what? It's a metaphor.
We do not stand for
see my seats.
No, we do not stand for lies here on Talkin' Torque. Nah, that's a lie. So, you know, worked on the car, got the car great. You know, Alex even showed me the data. Are we data or are we?
It depends if you're a Star Trek fan or not.
I am.
Then it would be data.
Data?
That's who's on Star Trek. Unless we're going with
that's TNG. That's not.
Yeah. Well, it's still Star Trek though.
Well, of course it is. I mean, you know, Captain Picard kicks the shit out of you know Captain Kirk. I mean, I don't care. No question.
Different show, but data was
data.
Was
but when we analyze various technical points, do we call that data or do we call that data?
Again, data was the android.
Yes,
data is what we're talking.
Correct.
About. Okay, so we're going with.
As we're looking at because when you know whether people know, like in race condition on a race weekend, we can have no data acquisition. The only thing close to data acquisition we're allowed on the car is our tax can have a memory for like the maximum RPM. That's the closest thing. We can't run computers. We can't run telemetry. We can't do
no G-force or anything like that.
Nothing.
Oh, interesting.
During a test session, different story. We can load the car up with sensors and, you know, get stuff figured out. We're looking at, you know, lap time. Once they got the platform figured out for Alex's chassis, which again, for whatever reason has a different performance metric than the other two, then all of a sudden it was like, you know, we knew, and I don't remember the number specifically. I've got, you know, a screenshot, but it was like lap time, like within like not even a deviation of 1/10 of a second over like a 30 lap run on 105 lap old tires. And it was like, okay, well, if we put brand new tires on, we know that's going to be
should be good
half a second. So it was like, we're going to be good. We, you know, the guys went away, they worked on the car, they did the thing, you know, didn't change the setup, like, you know, because the platform is almost always the same. It's not like
the baseline, right?
Correct. You know, we know it's going to be this sway bar, it's going to be this front you know, springs, these shocks, these springs in the rear, you know, we're going to run the whatever the hell what do we call the thing in the back, the sway bar?
Yeah, sway bar. Yeah,
it's sway bar in the back.
Yeah, it's a sway bar. You can't.
You have a front sway bar and a rear sway bar.
You can have them. Yeah, it's not.
And then there's the track bar that goes up and down. Okay, I am not going to ever claim to be a mechanic. I don't know.
I haven't been around the Pinty's cars recently. Usually, there's no rear sway bar, but you know, with the way their setups are today, they may be running them.
Yeah, and maybe I'm thinking of the track bar because it's, you know, because it's
going to raise and lower.
Yeah, we always start with a measurement. So the track bar is going to be at 8 inches, or it's going to be at 9 1/4, or it's going to be
that would be the panhard bar or the track bar.
Yeah,
same thing.
Cool.
Yeah.
So that didn't change, but they went away and, you know, kind of sprinkled some fairy dust and, you know, ran it through a rainbow and came back and it was a foreign car again. Now, what changed? Apparently, and I'm not chucking anyone, I mean, I don't intend to chuck anyone under the bus here, but apparently we got a really, really, really bad batch of tires towards the end. Like now we're at the last race of the season. General's only got this many tires. This is what you got. We're getting like, this is what we've got left in our inventory before we so, you know, trying to find tire sets, and our guys are really good at reading tire codes and knowing what stagger we want and, you know, all that. And everybody, you know, especially in the first, like in when we were doing our open practice. We only get one practice session. So within that hour and 15 minutes, we do practice runs on old tires, maybe put a different set of old tires, try and do a mock qualifying where we put a new set of tires on. There's a lot that goes on in a really short amount of time.
Absolutely.
And everybody was complaining about tires because we knew we had kind of one good set that we were going to say for qualifying, or one better set for qualifying, and then the mock run. And we kind of chalked a lot of the issues that we were having to the car up to these tires.
Right.
Then all of a sudden we get into the race and we're doing okay.
How'd you qualify? Where'd you qualify at? I didn't hear that. You remember? Roughly?
11th?
Okay. Mid-pack.
10th, something like that.
Yeah. Okay.
11th, because we were on the inside line. Start the race, we're doing okay. Car, like, we're picking one or two spots off, but Alex is really, really fighting with the car. Like, it just won't, it won't turn in on, like, it won't, no bite on entry.
Same problem
and then it wants to kind of wash. And if he tries to get back to the throttle, it is like so bad. Like, we had to wait almost till the car was straight before he could really get back to the throttle. And anyway, at one point we moved up in the first half to 5th. That was the highest we ran. Then there's caution. You kind of get shuffled at one point and then you drop back, and then, blah, blah, blah. We get to the break, because that's pretty much all we do now on ovals. There are no more live stops. We get to the break, we put our new tires on. Now we've got our good tires. And this is one of the comments that we had, on the radio, was like, hey, okay, and this is Terry, our crew chief, okay, bud, these are our good tires. This is going to make more of a difference than our other adjustments. Yeah. And we get out
full set of tires, four tires.
4 tires.
And
yeah.
Did everybody do 4 tires?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't have to.
No, but
so you can,
I guess.
I mean, if you're not going to do tires, you still have to come in and do fuel. You have to do fuel first, then tires. You can't do them at the same time. And we only have 3 minutes.
Oh, wow.
So it used to be a 5-minute break that we ran off of, and now we're trying to make it a little bit more interesting. But the breaks are great because we can get away with less, like 1 to 2 less crew people.
Oh, for sure. And it's safer, right? I think that's probably the biggest thing, is that you don't have tires bouncing across the pit lane. It's not like they're ex-NFL players that are doing tire changes in NASCAR. I've seen a lot of people get hit in these types of races. A lot of the tracks aren't lit properly on the infields. There's a lot of other things going on.
And pit road it's not really conducive to be able to pull all of our cars in at the same time. Where when we do the break, we can pull in at an angle, because we're like, everyone pulls in. It's not like if you're leading the race, you get more time. Trayton was leading. He pulled in and stopped. The last car comes in almost a minute later. By the time we all stop, we all wait. And until NASCAR says go, you don't touch the car.
Yeah.
So it's, there's no disadvantage to any of that.
I think that's an important difference for, like, the fans that are listening to us talk about this, because if they watch a nationwide race or an Xfinity race now, I guess, or a cup race.
How old are you? Holy moly. Back when I was racing in the Busch series.
Yeah, exactly. I ran out of Winston cigarettes just the other day. But it's important differentiator, because you go to a Pinty's race you watch on TV and you're like, what the heck's going on with this break? But like, for all the reasons you just mentioned, it makes sense for this series. It just keeps it consistent, because even if one track was equipped to be able to do it, now you're trying to bring extra people out, and it would just, somebody would get hurt, or it would just be a mess.
Yeah, for sure. So we go through, just need to send Uncle Mike a quick note, who is just trying to call me. Sorry, doing podcast. We come out and ran a couple of laps. There was a quick caution, and Alex comes on the radio and says the thing that we never want to hear. He's like, I think the engine's laying down. It's like, I've got no power coming out of the corners.
If I know Delaware, he probably started going faster. Sorry, didn't want to be spoiler alert, but
no. Like, it was. No, that happened to us this year at Sunset, where we lost 1 cylinder.
Yeah, exactly.
And so, you want to talk about explaining that. How can you go faster with less power? Well, all of a sudden, you're not running at the same speed so you can enter with less braking and you can get back to the throttle more aggressively because there's less chance of spinning the tires. So you come out of the corners a little bit better. But you get killed on entry.
Yeah.
No, as in the beginning of the corner.
Anyway, sorry. Didn't mean to distract.
No. These are all good points. So then we're trying to figure out, is it actually the engine? Is it this? Is it that? What's going on? And like, I mean, I could hear this car and I could hear it over my headset with all the other, like, it would come by and it's just like, it just sounded evil. So we like, I mean, if it's the engine, our day's done. There's nothing we can do.
Sure.
So we're waiting and waiting. We're trying to figure out what's going on, and we're falling further and further behind. Then we finally get a caution. This is the longest damned caution it lasted forever. So when the caution comes out, NASCAR will close the pits.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So pit road's closed. Now, generally speaking, if you come down a closed pit, if it's just closed, you pit, your penalty is to start at the tail end of the longest line. If NASCAR deems that you gained an advantage, they'll automatically drop you a lap, maybe 2 laps. So we had to we're sitting here and on our radio, it's like, why can't we come in? Why, because Terry couldn't see if there was an obstruction. Because if you come in while there's a safety issue, you're
exactly
toast.
Yeah.
Terry's the crew chief.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah.
But I could see that there was nothing like, like, guys, we should come down. Like, yeah, we got to start at the tail end, but let's do as much work as we can under caution instead of, pardon me. So anyway, we come down, sure as all get out, sure as shit. We get onto pit road. Finally, we're going to change the battery. It turns out the end of the story is the alternator failed.
So it was missing.
So it was just, there was no power as we're trying to hit the throttle. The ignition isn't doing its thing. The, starter's not doing, like, nothing is working, and there's just no power. And it's just, like it said, it's just nasty.
Yeah.
So, the guys changed the battery. We're scrambling too, because like we've got almost half a race to do. How long is the battery going to last? Do we have another battery?
Yeah.
Like, is the alternator totally dead, or is the alternator gonna help a little? Like, we and we were really only in a race with LP Dumoulin, because we're not really thinking about that race. We're thinking about the championship and where we're going to finish in the points. We couldn't advance from third, but we could have fallen back to like fifth. So we're trying, like, LP had an issue in the early part of the race. I think part of his suspension broke and he lost 13 laps. And we come in, do our pit stop, and then all of a sudden it goes green. It's like, oh, wow. No. Okay. And the killer of this pit stop, this particular caution, was that NASCAR didn't open pit road because they weren't happy with the lineup on track. So it's like, they're like, we're going to get lineups. And it's like, who cares? Like, get the lineup figured out afterwards. Let us get onto pit road. Like, we're not going to.
The people that pit are going to be in the back of the line anyway. So maybe that's going to solve your problem by opening up pit road. Right?
Let us do our work here, because like, it was so bad. So, I mean, the caution lasted like 10 laps and we only got like 2 to work on our stuff. But anyway, so we get that done. We lost 8 laps. So we still had like a 5-lap buffer. But if we have to come in and change another battery under, like, and like, I don't know what our setup was. I don't think these batteries were on quick connects. I think they were, like actual terminals. So we had to, and they get locked into place. It's not like they just float around.
You
so
probably pull off a tire. Was it a battery box, or was it
tire? Yeah. Pull the tire off, fender well, like get access, disconnect everything, reconnect everything, put everything back on and get going. Again, 8 laps. Now, if we got to come in and do it again under green, man, we're going to be in trouble. So we're like, okay, Alex gets back out. The change we made at the pit stop, we start running, and all of a sudden, and I'm not going to repeat the exact wording, but Alex is like, "Oh, is this car quick?" So now we're 8 laps down. We're playing with cars. Now our car's attitude is the same almost every race. We're not great on entry, but we're great on exit.
Okay.
So we, and as a spotter, I give Alex distances and car lengths, and you know what it sounds like, but I'll tell him like, okay, so you pulled a 3 on the straight, he closes within 1 on entry, within half in the middle, whatever it is, half a car length. He knows like, okay, this guy's going to get within half, but I know I'm going to pull it. So you're not worried. All of a sudden, we are killing people on entry. Like we were coming from like, and it's just something that our car just doesn't naturally do, but we're coming from 4 cars back and we're rolling onto a guy's bumper. And then all of a sudden he's pulling away. And I, at one point I said to Alex, I'm like, it was after the race. I'm like, were you backing out of it? Like, how hard were you hitting the brakes? He's like, brother, I was stopped because I didn't care if I passed the guy. It wasn't for a position. So whatever the little change we made, and we did that a lot last year, the car just came to life. Anyway, why have I done all the talking here? This isn't exactly.
Well, I did ask you to set the scene. You've done a great job of it. Now I'm ready for how it ended.
Well, we finished 3rd in the championship.
Congratulations!
And that was
5 laps down.
And 8 laps down.
8 laps down.
Yeah, we still had the 5 lap buffer to LP. It was a shame because so many cars had problems. Like Cameron had problems. They haven't really had a problem race all year. This could have been, if we were in a, we still couldn't have caught him, but we could have, if that problem race happened 2 races ago, then all of a sudden it's like we come into this weekend and we could have had something. But
it's I find that when those types of races happen, when your car's fighting you and you come into the pits, you just do this reset where you're no longer holding the steering wheel, the white knuckled, or you're driving to force it and stuff. All of a sudden you go back out and you're like, you know what? I just got to stay ahead of this one guy who's already 3 laps down. And it's like garbage time for the playoff, for the team that's in the playoffs. They just start playing looser and they stop overthinking and saying, I got to get that extra half a tenth entering the corner, or I got to get back to the gas as much faster. And all of a sudden you hear it all the time, smooth is fast. And just that piece in your mind goes subconsciously away, telling you to try to do everything you can, and all of a sudden you start driving faster, your car lasts longer, you start saving the tires, and you just look at life differently. And I it's happened to me all the time, and I'm just like, okay, I have to remember the way I'm driving and the way I'm feeling right now, because when everything is all wound up in my head, that just subconsciously you're going to press that brake pedal a little bit too long, too hard. You're not going to let the car roll in the center enough. You're going to try to get back to the gas too aggressively before the car's fully rotated or something to that effect. And or even just put yourself in a position that you really shouldn't put yourself in. Like, oh, there's I see a glimmer of light in between that car and the wall. I'm going to try to pass them. The glimmer of lights is not enough room for a full race car usually.
At the same time, if as a racing driver, you see a gap and you don't take it, you're no longer a racing driver.
Well, it depends if you're driving for championships or if you have a big sponsor.
If you've got open budget or no budget.
That's right. And how much time's in between races?
I have a universe. Again, I'm not a mechanic.
Yep.
I'm not I don't pull on wrenches. The amount of time it takes to service the car or repair the car is the exact amount of time you have between races.
It's true.
It doesn't matter. Like our car last year was destroyed. It was destroyed after Wetaskiwin, to the point that Scott says there's no way we're going to be racing, and we didn't have a backup car. And somehow they got it fixed. And that car went on to win the second race in Saskatoon last year. Like it, to me, and I will tell that story until the day I die, is one of the greatest. And I didn't have anything to do with fixing the car, but just being part of it and just kind of talking to the guys and knowing what the story was, that was one of the greatest things in racing I've ever been part of.
Well, and I'm sure you guys weren't expecting to, and I'm sure Alex wasn't expecting to either. And that's kind of back to my point about you taking this car that's been bent up like a pretzel. Oh, guys, I don't think we're going to win, but I'll just go out there and drive it. All of a sudden, you end up winning. It's like, well, maybe we shouldn't take it as seriously.
Yeah, and it's not that. It's that going back a long time when I was, in the early days of racing with Alex, when he was in IndyCar, he would definitely push past the car's ability, and it would turn into turn into problems. It would turn into crashes. It would turn into, blown tires. It would turn into a lot of things. Once I got a better appreciation, because I went, I go into a lot of these races saying, I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I'm okay as a spotter, and I've learned to what my role is, but I really learned how to help the mentality of a driver, because, too many times you try to, if you try to go past what the car will do, it's not going to work. Like there is a limit, and I don't care if you're Max Verstappen. If you go past that limit, there's a buffer where you go past and you can catch it, and there's a point where you go past and you've killed it. And we did that too many times, especially in our first year in Pinty's. But we like, before every race, take what the car will give you. So, and I don't care. We've got great drivers in a number of cars. There's not one better in the series than Alex. We have equals, but as far as pure talent goes, nobody is better. And I have 100% a faith in my driver. If he's saying the car is doing something,
he knows
it is doing that. And
everything with four wheels on it. Yeah.
He doesn't have a moment, maybe early in his career, maybe had a moment, where he'd get upset in the car and that would affect his driving, but that doesn't happen anymore. If, we will keep the car at a certain limit because we want to bring it home. We don't want to create work for the guys. We don't want the repair bills. So that doesn't happen anymore. If the car is slow, it's slow. And it's not about blaming the crew or blaming, because that's where broadcasters like to take things. And that's where other people like to take things, is like, well, what was, was it set up? Was it, well, it doesn't matter. Like, we just missed something because the temperature changed, because the tires would whatever. It doesn't
what really bugs me though, is that Ross Chastain ruined the wall pass for all of us. And the Pinty series is the perfect place to do it when there's just that glimmer of light.
You need
call the wall pass. Call him for all of us with tag when he's running fourth or something like that. Call the wall pass. Just call it. And I want it recorded, and I want it played on this podcast, and we would explode.
I don't believe it's been banned in Canada.
There you go.
However, you need to come to our tracks, because the walls that we race on are not conducive.
You haven't even tried
to the. I'll tell you what. I got a 2-seat race car right there. I want to see you do it.
All right.
I'll fund it. You can destroy the thing. You can
You heard it here first, everybody. I have my first sponsor.
I will accept the damages to that car. You're paying your hospital bill.
That's right. As the 47 listeners are our witness, I now have a new sponsor.
I'll always be there for you. That's okay.
Appreciate it.
I sponsored your beverage tonight,
I know. I'm just about out of beverage, but that's okay.
We got more. It's the same price.
Yeah.
We didn't really talk. It looks like I just sent our guy a note. Apparently he got sideswiped by a big tractor trailer, so he's got a good excuse for not joining us. So we'll deal with him later on. Let's talk really quick. We've got we got as much time as we want, because it's not like we're on the clock, but if you're game, talk me through I'll go half a step back. You and your family own and operate Westworld Computers.
Correct.
So Westworld is a fairly familiar name to people in Edmonton. but they maybe don't know what you guys do, even though, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I've been telling people this as fact. When your father, Carl, started this thing, he was the first representative of Apple in Canada.
Pretty darn close. I haven't come across one, at least not one that's still open, that was selling Apple before us. Yeah, he started selling Apple in 1979. He started selling Apple in Canada before Apple started selling Apple in Canada.
Well, that's he probably predated Apple by like 2 decades.
Well, a couple of years in terms of the product. So the other one, the closest other one I've seen is like 1980, 1981, something like that. So
So for all intents and purposes, he was
number one.
He was at the very beginning, and I don't know when Apple was actually started, and I like
mid 70s.
Yeah. So they were. I mean, obviously they weren't what they are now, but even the computers that they were, and we talked about this last time. I still remember when my school got the first Apple, which was called a black Apple. Did you ever see that?
I don't know. I probably did, but it's no, I haven't heard that story.
So the black Apple was the predecessor of the Apple IIc and the Apple IIe.
Oh yeah. And then there was the Apple IIgs. That was my favorite. I remember the Apple IIgs, which I think was around that same time frame. So that black and orange or black and green screen and stuff.
Well, mine was a monochrome screen. It was one of the first computer I ever saw that had a mouse. I had no idea.
That was the big thing Apple did. I think they bought it from Xerox, that patent, and then there's a few other things that they did right. And the mouse was a huge part of the graphical user interface.
The GUI.
Yeah, exactly.
See, I know a couple of things.
You do.
My favorite. Well, now we got to tie it back in because you were talking. Forget about the GUI. You were talking about Star Trek.
Yes.
And in Star Trek 4, I think it was called Voyage Home, is when they come back in time to mid 80s San Francisco.
They save the whales.
That's right. Well, they try to. I don't want to give it away, but
for anybody that hasn't seen Star Trek: The Voyage Home from
86, I want to say. But then they get Scotty. Scotty's trying to design the transparent aluminum.
4-inch transparent aluminum.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah.
And he's like, I just need computer. So he goes to the computer and he's like,
oh, good for you.
He says,
back in the memory banks.
He's like, computer. And the guys are looking at him and he's like,
that's right.
Computer. And they're like, you got to use the mouse. And he picks the mouse up. He goes, hello, computer.
Good job. Well done, Colin.
So that ties it all together. But anyway, you guys go back to the beginning. I started on the black Apple. Then there was the 2C, the 2E. And back then, obviously computers are not what they are now. We weren't broadcasting TV shows from our office, but the only thing that we could really do was run BASIC. Like those computers were like line 10, input, B string something, line 20.
And I just ran out of Winston cigarettes, and you're talking about line 10 basics.
I don't deny my age. I'm we're into October. I'm 3 months from 50 here. So
you're looking great though. Looking great. I hardly believe it.
I know. No, it's true. Is true.
Yeah. Okay.
Hello, computer. But then you guys, the home computer, the personal computer became a thing. They were really institutional before that, and then all of a sudden, IBM and Apple started this.
Microsoft obviously got involved somewhere along there.
They kind of copied an operating system and called it Windows, which now you're making me think. I saw a thing last week, and I swear it made me laugh way too hard. I mean, I was laying in my hotel room in the States. I won't even say where I was because I don't know how many of my competitors are trying to look over my shoulder where we're adding representation. But I see this thing that says in an alternate universe, and it's Microsoft founder Bill Gates during one of the Windows XP launches, and it says in an alternate universe, and it shows the caption Bill Windows, and he was releasing Gates XP. I mean, and it just made me laugh and laugh and laugh and laugh. Anyway, so obviously that's where things really started to take off. People started buying home computers, and then it went nuts. And obviously, and we talked about this last time, is you guys are really in a strange position where you have to compete with your supplier.
Yeah, with our manufacturer. Yep.
Which obviously has a world of challenges with it.
It does. I mean, I think for us, it's if you try to compete with them, when you're the person that's kind of breaking the brush in a sense and leading that, if you're trying to follow people down paths that are already beaten and you're a bush breaker, however, I try to say words I can't now, you're never going to move forward in life. So that's our role in this. It is difficult, but you know, my dad has always been looking, like Wayne Gretzky said, where's the puck going? Not where's it at?
Yeah,
exactly. And because of that, I think with racing, with anything else in life, that mentality has been really put into my head too. It doesn't come without its frustrations, of course, where you open a great retail store here in West Edmonton, and an Apple opens one down the road and says, okay, thanks for all the customers. That's never fun, but you know, Apple themselves, they do provide other paths for us, and they see 10 years down the road, they are maybe even further. Look at us talking about Scotty back in 1986, who they knew where they were going, right? And so with the technology today, whether it's support and repair, I mean, we've owned, you know, all of us probably, if you're an Apple person or an Apple family, you could probably count maybe on one hand, but probably on two, how many Apple devices you might have around you or in your house right now with your family members and stuff like that. So we got an Apple TV here, we got an iMac, we got an iPhone, we got my MacBook, I got my iPad, I got my Apple Watch, you got your Apple Watch.
I've got my iPad and my MacBook and my watch.
Yeah. When all this technology
all from Westworld Computers, I must add. I do appreciate and now that. I see that my watch is actually going to die. So
so the Ultra Watch 2, much better battery life. So we'll get you traded that one in right away. We do offer a great trade-in program, better than anybody else.
It's true.
Instant value, more value than anybody gets. We make sure that your other device is securely erased, and of course all your data transferred safely. So anyways, moving forward after that quick sales pitch. Apple,
this is all a sales pitch. I hate to burst the bubble and do the fourth wall break and inside of a fourth wall break.
Like, oh, they're just gonna come over there because they like me. But no, yeah, you're right. We should probably.
But you guys have great coffee.
We do,
and you actually have very, very friendly reception. Yeah,
that's the plan. That's the idea. You got to have. We want them to have a different experience in the Apple stores. You walk in there, the first person you see is the security guard. The next person you see is somebody who just came from her high school class with an iPad, asking you if Apple made that iPod that's in your hand.
Or you see a crowd of people. Like, and again, this they've got. There's a reason why there's that many people, but when you're in West Edmonton Mall, I don't like the people in the mall to begin with, and when I go to shop, I don't want to be in that mob,
the fishbowl,
where you're, first of all, you don't really get any personalized time. You kind of get, shuffled in, shuffled out as quick as possible because there's obviously a long line of people. And then you got to find someone that calls themselves a genius or is called a genius that doesn't know shit from Shinola. and one of these, I keep using this expression. I'm going to have to look it up because I'm afraid I'm saying something now that might not be socially acceptable. And that's not my intention whatsoever, but
we're just uneducated.
Whatever. I mean, I get into trouble for all kinds of crap. So that's fine. But the experience at your store is very different. And now I'm speaking as a very satisfied customer, because when you walk in, the first thing that happens is you're greeted, and you can have a 30-second conversation. You can have no, I'm just looking, and you'll be left the hell alone. And then you can walk through. It's very well lit. Everything's properly organized. There's, everything's grouped by product type. So you'll walk in and you'll see, a Sonos sound system. You'll see, Apple Watch, you'll see phone cases, you'll see iPhone, then you go up the riser, and that's where the computers are. So you're going to see MacBooks and blah, 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 blah. It's great.
You said, thank you. And you said the most specific thing is that it's very personalized. As I mentioned before, you're going to have a number of Apple products if you're into the ecosystem, and knowing how all these products work together and synchronize. When operating systems become out of date, now why isn't my messages going to my phone? Why are they showing up on my partner's device? Oh,
that'd be very bad.
I've had that happen a few times.
Oh, sorry, Mandy.
You guys think it was a good idea to share an Apple ID? because it's not.
Sorry, Mandy.
But trying to make sure that we understand where people are at in their technology journey, and helping facilitate, obviously, whether it's a trade-in or a hand-me-down or a donation. Sometimes we have people come in that forget their Apple IDs, and we're starting to offer even more personalized service where we're going to offer like Apple ID account recoveries, and that's on the individual home consumer side of things, where we can help people with their networks and make sure they're in what they call their Internet of Things work, where you've got
the IoT.
The IoT, yeah, making sure your refrigerator is connected to the internet properly, because I guess that's a thing now. But there's that aspect on the individual side, but the business side is actually kind of where I'm excited. There's so many more people that want to, whether it's bring your own device to work programs where people will have Apple devices, and they go to work somewhere, and the employer wants to give that employee a set of information that's related to their business, but they want to be able to have control over it. And that can be added to an employee's personal device. Doesn't cross any lines between their personal information. And when that employee leaves, that information can be securely taken off as well remotely. You don't actually have to handle the person's device.
And can you do that across multiple hardware platforms, or just with Apple?
No, it's very seamless with Apple. I mean, the Windows and Android side has their ways of doing that, but because Apple creates all of their own software and hardware, this ecosystem is very, very well controlled and very well done. When you end up having to deal with different hardware elements in Windows machines and different hardware elements in Android devices, I find it's just not as clean. With that being said, I'm not that industry expert on that side of it. This is a relatively new, within probably last 3 years, and we've been using it at Westworld, being what's called mobile device management and the Apple Business Manager program. And it's wonderful. It really simplifies life. I was running 5 stores. I now run 1 because I've downsized recently. It's the economy. What can you do? But when I would send devices to the stores to be set up, like point of sale terminals or units for the manager or something like that, all they have to do is they boot it up. And I use Microsoft in terms of their email platform and their and whatnot. They just put in their email address and their password. Based on that profile, it loads all of the information that employee needs. And it's hands off. I can push updates. I can push security profiles. I can add printers. It's really great. I can tell them what Wi-Fi networks it can be on. I can put on a geofencing. So if the device leaves the store, I will get a alert saying that this shouldn't leave the store. So there's just so many things that you can do from a business owner point of view to control these devices that now cost us thousands and thousands of dollars.
Yep. Have you seen the Jim Balsillie movie, the BlackBerry movie that's out?
Like I said, I have been living under a shell of the world for a long time, but I did hear that it's pretty good.
It flashed me back because I was BlackBerry. I loved it because I didn't know any different, but compared to a traditional flip phone, which is basically all I had.
Which we're going back to, by the way. They're making a comeback. I'm thinking about getting my Motorola Razr out. Anyway, sorry.
Go ahead. Good on you.
I'm going back to T9 texting.
I saw.
Tried that in driving, where I crashed my car. T9 texting. Yeah, screw you, T9 texting.
Yeah. Screw you, society. I've got to say, what's up? Now I'm dead. The BlackBerry world is, I'm very thankful that we've evolved past it, but flashing back to the olden days where like the reason that I transitioned to Apple, can't give you credit for this because I didn't really know you back then.
That's okay. But the universe works in mysterious ways.
When I started seeing my counterparts, some of them in business using these iPhones, I said the same thing everyone said, like, how do you operate it without a keyboard? Like I need the tactile feel. But it looked like all people were doing with an iPhone was playing games. And there was like the fart simulator, and there was the thing where you could like drink a beer and
the
like
Zippo app. That was my favorite.
Exactly. It was all just, and I looked at him like, this is just a bunch of dumb shit. I don't like, no, I just want to stay in touch.
Yeah.
At one point I kind of broke down. So I'd gone through a bunch of Blackberries and I was having like problems with these Blackberries. And this is before the Storm and all their like attempts to get touchscreens, where when I was still married, my now ex-wife was an English teacher. So spelling for her was like crazy important, and grammar and all these things. And as she's typing, sometimes she would hit a key and it would double tap a key. So it would spell something wrong, or she would, hit a space and it would double space, which caused a new sentence and blah, 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 blah. And I'd go in, you would have to go to a store to get them to fix it. Like you couldn't call in, you couldn't, so there had to be a BlackBerry store. And there was, back in the day at West Edmonton Mall, it was on the lower level and it was over towards the water park. And I went in, I'm like, I'm having problems with this phone. They try like 3 things. They're like, no, it's fine. Like, no, it's not fine. Like, I know there's a problem. We can't duplicate it. Like,
yeah.
Okay. Anyway, so then my eyes started getting open more and more. And there was an offer that someone had to try an iPhone. So my first iPhone was the 3GS. So I wasn't like on the cutting edge, but it's still, we're talking 3.
I think in Canada, the 3G was the first one we had access to here. So you're pretty much there.
It was close.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, so now I got like, who do I talk to set this thing up? Like, nobody. Like, what do you mean? Because when you would get a BlackBerry, you would have to talk to your cell provider, whether, let's just say it was either TELUS or Rogers back then, and it was probably AGT, but you would have to call them. They would have to add it to the network. They would have to provision it. Then they would push all the information back. Then it would create your email, and you would be like, I mean, I remember being on hold.
Right? That's a
BlackBerry. Yeah. Like I was on hold for like 3 hours because you had to call it in and get it done. Like it was that you couldn't do anything by yourself. And then all of a sudden I get this iPhone and it's like, no, you just like enter your email. I'm like, no, how does this work? Well, you just enter your email address, enter your password, and it does it. Like, oh, this is pretty cool. So I don't have the support network anymore. No. And now I don't have keys to fail. Nope. And we do this all ourselves. Like what if I have multiple phones? Yeah. You just do the same thing you just did and you guys are online. Oh yeah. And that
was the light bulb moment. That was the aha moment, as Apple calls it.
But now you really should watch that movie because it's really on the downfall of how, they really had the world, the control, and just.
I heard about BlackBerry today. Yeah, they tried to sell, they couldn't sell, so now they're splitting the company again. And it's funny that because BlackBerry was always the business phone, right? And it was secure email, it was the secure network,
secure everything,
secure everything. And so that was a little bit of the blessing and the curse you experienced, where you said, well, you got to call them in, they got to provision the email, you got to provision the device, because that's the way you secured stuff. And it's really interesting because back then, when you take a look at the cell phone industry, it was Apple versus Windows in terms of Mac versus
for PCs.
PC, for the personal computer. And today, when you flash forward, Apple themselves doesn't really run a business email communication system.
No,
but they're considered to have the most secure mobile devices because of the way that they've been able to make their hardware and software work together. And so Microsoft and Google, they're the ones that have taken over that business security platform. And like when I boot up my computer, it says "Welcome to Microsoft," my Mac.
Yeah,
because it's provisioned through the Microsoft Azure system, and it's all secure through there. But then I have another. It's a very twisted web. It becomes pretty simple once you've done it, which I have, and I've spent many countless and sleepless nights doing it, but it works so well today. And it's nothing like what you've experienced with the BlackBerry, where you call somebody at Westroad Computers, you say, hey, I need a new device added to my profile. We get it, we add it in, we send it off. You don't even have to touch it. Your employee gets it, they open it up, it says, this is owned by Cantork.
Yeah. And
they're in the field in Fort McMurray or wherever they are. It boots up, they say welcome, and then they just say, this is your phone, Jim or Mary or whatever, and away they go. It's a really slick system, and it's great to talk about where it started from again.
It was I had a whole thought and now it just kind of popped out of my head, which I mean that
it's not running out the door.
I hope I have another thought before the end of the day, but it was always super interesting to like I love watching the stories of these businesses and the closing slides of this BlackBerry movie, because there was a lot of shady shit that they did, because they were like backdating stock options to entice all these top engineers, which was highly illegal.
I can see that.
And because of the encryption that BlackBerry offered, they say that, you know, all the emails and all the text messages and all the, you know, the BBMs, the private pin,
Yeah, the BlackBerry
they said
messaging
they're
system.
still sitting on BlackBerry servers in Waterloo, but no one can access them. So the U.S. Department of Justice and all these you know, government agencies have tried to recover, and they can't. You know, and BlackBerry is saying, like, we're not going to release them because, you know, these are private. You know,
Yeah.
even though, you know, they may be implicated in a crime. Really interesting.
Well, and that's, you know, and that's what BlackBerry, you know, as a security software company, where they've tried to move into. That's, you know, if they release that or if they gained access to it, that just whatever they have today, it's all gone. Right, because that is what they are today. And you know, Tim Cook did the same thing with Apple. There was I believe it was a terrorist thing. Might have been like the
the phone that the U.S. government wanted Apple to unlock.
Yeah,
Apple could.
Yeah,
but they said no.
Yeah, I think they did ultimately take it to a cybersecurity firm that was able to get into it. But that's right. I mean, you know, Apple is just going to stand up for that, and it's tough. It's a tough line to walk. Like if you could unlock a phone and prevent a tragedy versus, you know, unlock a phone and disappoint or scare the majority of the people in the world, that you know, somebody could just on a flip of a switch unlock all of your private information. Which side do you choose? It's very difficult, but I think that you know, I think that Apple's chosen the right one.
With I remember having the conversation when I was moving into the world of iPhone versus the BlackBerry, and you know, I won't mention the guy's name, but he was a car driver, not race car driver, but he operated a limo service, a sedan service. And
was it Argyle from Die Hard?
It was not.
Oh, okay, cool. That's the only limo driver I can think of right now.
Yeah, it was anyway. And we were driving to the airport, and he saw that I was doing something on my iPhone. He's like, "Oh, I'll never get an iPhone." I'm like, "Why?" Now, this was like, he was a conspiracy theorist before this was like way before we were even thinking about that stuff. Right. He's like, "Oh, the security."
Back when UFOs were cool.
UFOs are still cool.
No, they're called something else now.
But they're still cool.
They are.
We changed the name, but they're still cool. And he's like, "Oh, there's no security and it's so easy to break into that." I said, "Okay." And I handed my phone to him while he was driving. I'm like, "Go ahead." He's like, "No, well, you know, people can do it." I said, "I don't think they can." He's like, "Well, no, I'll never give up my BlackBerry." I said, I think you will in time, but okay. And I kept saying to him, like, well, I just know that the security isn't as good on an Apple device as it is. I said, okay, maybe. I don't know, because I'm not an IT expert. I said, you said it's easy. I showed it to you and you can't do it. So, and I said, if somebody wants to break into my phone, go ahead. What do you think you're going to like? Yeah. I'm not trading in like, you know, crazy secrets. I don't have, I've got some, you know,
stuff or whatever, text
messages that I probably wouldn't want to get into certain people's hands, and you know, other things, but everyone's got something. But if my phone's contents were released, it wouldn't really change my day. I don't have anything to hide from, but at the same time, I don't want people to.
It's something we don't need to deal with in life. That's for sure. And, you know, that's the crux of like a lot of the technology evolution right now. You know, Apple moving to their M series chips, and you know, you've seen on a lot of podcasts or CBC or CNN or somebody where they're saying Apple's not letting people repair their devices for, you know,
after 7 years.
Well, but even afford or right to repair their own devices, for example.
I'm going to get back to that whole 7-year thing, because I saw something this morning that made me laugh.
It's 5 years, and then they stop. Yeah, anyways, but the whole idea behind that is, I'm a computer technician. I'm a certified Apple technician. I can tell you 5 years ago, even if you came in, unless you had used a program called File Vault on your Mac, I could probably still get just about anything off of it, which is good if you want me to recover your information, which is bad if, you know, something falls into the wrong person's hands. Now, with that being said, even File Vault, you know, it was a 256-bit encryption, I believe it was. And, you know, give it enough time and resources, somebody could even break into that.
Yeah.
So, you know, with the emphasis on security these days, and trying to make security a good thing and not a nuisance, because that's what it really was. We used to call it vile fault, because because half the time it became corrupted and you couldn't get back into your own computer, even
Right.
if you knew all the information that you were supposed to know. So Apple, by using their hardware, has created a security chip directly onto their main boards. And so the fact you can't go in and change the processors or change the memory or change the storage today, that's all part and parcel of that encryption process.
Right.
And so
there's a whole process. You can, but you just can't do it yourself.
No, Apple. No, well, I mean, I suppose if you had a solder rack and stuff like that. And
no, but like if you have a damaged hard drive, you've got to replace the whole unit.
Yeah, that replaces the boards. Yeah.
Wow.
And with that being said, the components that you can replace, because there are some devices that do have separate flash chips today. But even if you were going to replace that separate flash chip, it still has to be registered with Apple's system to do basically a handshake with Apple's cloud systems to say that this is an authentic component being installed back into this device, both for security and for the reliability of the product. Some people say to me, well, Daryl, that's just a bunch of hoopla and gives them the rights to charge a lot of money for this stuff. And I'm said, well, that's a nice Mercedes you're driving in that parking lot. How much was your last oil change, sir?
Yeah.
Can you go down to Parts Source and get yourself a battery?
go down to Quickie Lube and no problem. And that doesn't invalidate the warranty at all.
Yeah. So I don't, and even if it doesn't, I mean, anyways, I don't get into the debates anymore because it is, everybody's got a take and everybody's right from their perspective, but they build good stuff. It's reliable, it's secure, and it's going to work for you. If you want to be, a hot rodder, that's why we have hot rods. PCs. Go put the parts in it you want. Have fun.
In the car industry, they say there's an ass for every seat.
There you go. That's right.
Obviously there are people who swear by, Samsung. There are people who swear by, whatever. A friend of mine at the one of our race friends, Greg McPherson, who operates Inside Track a bunch of those things. He's got one of those. I can't remember if it's a Samsung or one of what's the Google one called. I don't even know.
Pixel?
I don't know, but he has a touchscreen flip phone.
Oh yeah.
I've never seen
Samsung. I think that's the flip phone that they're branded because it's small now and it fits in your shirt pocket, which is cool. I guess.
What was super cool is he actually had a screen protector for it.
Oh no! How did that work out?
It looked okay. I mean, you could see on the edges and right at the fold there was a little bit of distress, but otherwise, I think it was pretty good.
And that's what I mean. That some of those new designs are coming back out, and it's coming back to the not your parents' iPhone or not your brother's phone. You know what I mean? It's just a different form factor because they all ended up looking the same. So good on Samsung for trying something a little bit different, and it's kind of neat stuff.
So this was the whole setup and what I was trying to ask you a while ago, but really what I'm most
give me a show notes prompting thing here so I don't take us down too many tangents.
We call that run of show.
Okay.
Yeah. And I would have been happy to had I written one. You're in the middle of a product rollout.
Yes.
Obviously and I shouldn't say obviously, right now it's the iPhone 15. I don't know, were there other products that are like, is there a new iPad, new something that's
the last launch here in beginning of September, mid-September was your iPhone 15, your iPhone 15 Pro Max lineup. We got our Apple Watch Ultra 2, which we mentioned.
I'll see you next week.
Watch Series 9. And I feel like I'm missing one. But
isn't there a new iPad Pro?
No new iPads. They're still doing the M2 iPad. I think that was the majority of it. They obviously did the last one in June. They talked about the Apple Vision, but that's not out yet. The Apple Vision Pro, the augmented virtual reality headset. That's going to be pretty neat, but I don't think we're going to start seeing that until next year. And it's going to be more than race cars, which is going to be crazy. But the iPhone 15 stuff, I'm really excited for it. I'm still using the 13. And as somebody, I know, right? Times are tough.
Get out. We've got a bit of a standard in this building, and sorry.
I know, it's true. But I've been back here twice. So I guess,
I didn't know that you were still on a 13.
No, that's true. Get out.
Yeah. Take one of the cheap beers and then get out.
Exactly. No, the they've done some really neat stuff with the 15, and obviously they've gone to the USB-C connector now. And Apple's like, the European Union forced us, but at the end of the day, it's better for Apple as well, in my opinion. The USB-C connector is way more versatile than the Lightning connector would be. All of their other products have moved to it as well. So
for equipment companies, though, this is amazing because now they don't have to make separate Apple interactions with everything else. In hotels, I see so many Apple Lightning connectors.
The 30-pin connectors from back in the day.
There's a handful, but yeah, those are mostly gone. But
I stay at the 30-pin hotels. That's what they call them now. It's not Motel 6, it's Motel 30-pin. I'm like, that's Daryl's budget right there. It used to be a Motel 6, and then it got bought up.
You don't have to walk because the bed bugs will carry you out in the morning.
Right.
It's no problem.
Nice. Yeah. So, but yeah, and they're so now you can do, I think, device-to-device charging. You can do device-to-device data synchronization, which has always been an issue because the cameras, the quality of the camera, if you're a camera media person, which if you're buying a Pro or Pro Max, you probably are. That's probably one of the biggest reasons to upgrade them to them these days. You take a 1-minute video on the highest settings and it's like a gigabyte. It's huge.
Yeah, ridiculous.
And so with the fact that the cloud storage is all fine and dandy, but I'm sure that you've experienced this where you want to go back like 3 days and look at that video you took. Well, it's got to download from the cloud. And so now you have the ability to record directly from the device straight onto a hard drive. And although you're adding another piece to it for people that are going to shoot in the field, or they want to, and you can also transfer it to any hard drive. So you don't have to record it directly to it, but you can if you're doing a long shoot.
Yeah.
So that's going to be, I think, for the people that really want to take advantage of the new cameras, that's going to be the biggest advantage.
Yeah. The thing I saw this morning that made me laugh, because, obviously you can call it planned obsolescence, but Apple's threshold seems to be 7 years where you just, you can no longer upgrade it.
It's the vintage. Yeah. So at 5 years, it goes out of support after it's done being manufactured. So at that point, there'll be very little, like some batteries and common parts you may be able to get for it. But it's after 5 years after it's been done being manufactured. So the 14 Pro just ended today or right around today in 2023. So you'll be able to get support on the 14 Pro or the 14 lineup up to, the 14 Pro, because the 14 Pro ended, but the 14 itself didn't. So the 14 Pro and Pro Max will have support until 2028.
Yeah.
And then after that, it'll be difficult to get anything after that.
The funny thing is it is now you can no longer use support, otherwise has become completely useless, is the first generation or second generation Apple Watch for the people who bought the gold $17,000, $25,000
or whatever it was called.
And you could have easily bought almost any level of Rolex for that, which would appreciate, which you can hand down as an heirloom, which you can do all these things. And now these Apple Watches,
I got do you remember the white Series 3, which was made, not acrylic. We make them ball bearings. Ceramic. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. So somebody actually traded one of those because those were worth like $1,000 when they came out. And somebody traded that in at my store for like a couple $100. And I'm like, well, I'm going to take that and put it in a box because I have all this old stuff. I got iPods, like all the iPods. My dad's been hoarding all those computers you mentioned. They're all in the back of my store right now. And so if anybody is listening that has a retail space that wants an Apple museum, let me know. Because it's time to get the crap out of the back of my warehouse. We can do it. It runs.
One of these days, I want to see that. I would love to see those old computers.
We have a Lisa. We have the Woz
Apple II. Really?
Yeah. My dad actually retraded back in a Lisa. He sold to somebody, I think it was 1984, who had the original invoice paperwork with my dad as the salesperson on it, and he traded it back in 2 or 3 years ago. Yeah. Is wild. We got Apple. We got the Mac Classics. We got the Bondi iMacs, the ones with like Dalmatian and different things like that. And if anybody's got old Apple stuff, they want to go to a good home that's become kind of that collector's piece. Bring it into Westworld. I don't know if I can give you any money for it, but we'll take a look at it and figure it out. But it's probably going to find a good home.
How many? Because on the now that you mention it, on the top of a lot of the cabinets, you've got a collection of old, like the original iMac.
Yeah, the original iMac,
which really was probably the most important PC that was ever released.
Well, it's called the Internet Mac. That's what the I stood for. So yeah.
But you like are they functional or are they gutted?
Those ones up there are actually just displays. So they don't have any guts inside of them.
Yeah.
But we do have a number of the other ones in the back of the store that are functional. Yeah.
Because that's really what, between the, like, really the iMac got Apple back in the forefront of, consumer electronics.
Yes.
And then obviously, it's a phone, it's a music player, it's an internet device.
The iPod was, obviously that was a huge influx in iTunes and stuff. So no, and that's what I mean, when we talked about earlier, just get a little grumpy that Apple comes and eats my breakfast every day, but I just got to go figure out where they're going. And they do help me with that. I'm very fortunate that, I still, talk to the director of Apple Retail Canada, and I have my own, director from Toronto that calls me. I can text her like right now. I probably shouldn't, but they do help me a lot.
Is she watching? Did you send her the link and like, hey, listen, I'm going to get at least 20 minutes to talk about.
Yeah, exactly. Apple stuff. But they, no, and that's what I mean. It is a difficult business, but it is a rewarding business.
And you guys do an amazing job.
Thank you.
Seriously. If anyone's here, if anyone's here in Edmonton, really in Western Canada, they have an awesome online presence.
We'll send stuff to you. We are
100%.
rebranding some stuff. We have my iWorld Connect division, which is going to be mainly focused in retail. That's iWorldConnect.com, Westworld.ca. We're going to actually work on making it a little bit more of an information site. You'll still be able to find our online catalog that'll transfer you over to our iWorld side. So there's a lot of changes in the wind right now, but absolutely. My email address, dharr@westworld.ca. Come and find me. I will make sure I'll be your matchmaker for whatever you need.
Yeah. And again, you guys do a great job. We're a very happy and satisfied customer. Man, it goes by so quick. That was an hour and a half.
Man, we could talk. Good thing your other guest didn't show up. We'd be here like.
Well, he's actually kind of popped in and out a little bit on
I hope he's okay. I heard he was in a car accident. So
he's fine. He's a big dude, man. I'm sure he probably
he sideswiped the setting.
That thing hit him, and he just kind of gave it a look and knocked it out of the way.
I was looking forward to meeting him. It sounded like he's done a lot of great stuff. Maybe on the next go around.
Well, hopefully I don't piss him off between now and then.
There's no more races, so he's not going to throw you off the top of a spotter stand.
Oh no, we still talk. I mean, I've got such great stories. The kind of stories I have with him, and I don't want to throw his name out until he's ready to get going. But the kinds of stories, it's not like I have stories with him where it's like, we were, at a race somewhere, we were by ourselves, then we went to a strip club, we got into a lot of like, it's not like that. He's just like a really sweet guy. And it's just, been so generous and so helpful, when we didn't even really know each other. And had a couple of really amazing acts of kindness to bail us out. So one day we'll get him on. We're talking about doing a spotters episode, which I think would be a lot of fun. We might need to get you here just to police everyone.
I'll be the driver amongst the spotters. Okay, guys, remember, push to talk.
Yeah, once we hey, hit the button before you start talking. That's
wiring some lights or something.
It's a big thing. We get a lot of guys who start talking and then they hit the button. Like,
I know.
It's like, they start giving lap times and all I hear is like 11.
Yeah.
What the hell does 11 mean? Yeah. Anyway,
I like the ones that end with you.
Good point. Thank you.
Could be a lot of things.
Yeah. So lastly, we went through all of the devices here. What's super cool is the camera that is got you on was supplied by Westworld Computers. There you go. So now we need to get like better lighting over there because it's the fluorescents aren't great, and I only have fluorescent lighting here. I don't have like one of the fancy lighting ding dongs here. So
our ring lights. I'll buy one for my girlfriend or something.
I remember her name. That's like the third time today you've said my girlfriend without mentioning her name. So I'm not sure what's going on there. But I'm gonna.
All three of them can be happy that I mentioned them.
Yeah, you don't have time for one, let alone three. And because I know I know her. You don't want to walk on the wild side. She will mess you up.
That's true.
And what makes it worse? There's actually two of her.
Yeah, that's right.
That's
true.
Yeah. So anyway,
All right.
Mr. Hart, thanks, man.
Thank you,
We'll stay
Colin.
in touch.
Really appreciate it.
We'll do something here down the road. And why can't I kick you off? Wow, you're sticking around here.
Oh, I'll just be quiet.
It's not letting me turn your camera off. This software is kind of going rogue here. You're gonna have to be quiet.
Okay, I'll just be quiet.
Gonna have to be quiet. Thanks again, everybody. This has been a lot of fun. Let's see. We got one more comment here. Nothing's working. I can't load anything. I can't do anything. It's really strange.
Oh, there's so much comment going on.
It's kind of a bummer because everything's showing that it's on, but as I click on anything, it doesn't let me do it. I don't even know if I can end the show properly because
let's just start pulling cables. I like how we just talked about Westworld and how everything works perfectly and we can't end the show.
But this is a software issue.
Yeah,
and
I didn't make the software. You're right.
To be fair, the software was not installed nor maintained by Westworld computers. So this is our Restream software, and for some reason, I don't know why, nothing's working here. So we'll be back hopefully next week. We'll do one more, and then I got to take a break in 2 weeks. I'll be overseas for a go-kart race. You are always able to find me, hey there, at talkintorque.ca. Daryl gave out his personal email, dharr@westworld.ca. Good luck with that.
Hey, man, I'm looking forward to it. I'm only up to 10,712 emails as of today.
That's
yeah. So I'll get right back to you.
Oh, you know what's going on? I think there's a software update. Because nothing's working on my computer. So this is an Apple issue. I'm clicking on.
Remember how I told you I did an update before I came in? I locked myself out of my computer.
Yeah.
I'm back into my computer now. So I passed this.
I can't scroll on any pages. I can't click on any of the windows. One thing. Oh, speaking of Windows, just one last thing about Apple, the new operating system, Sonoma.
They're finally making it about racetracks. I was like, finally, Apple got it right. We're gonna get Delaware. We're gonna not Delaware, Darlington. Yeah. We're gonna get Talladega. That should be, because honestly, what better? Because Apple's like, we're gonna name it after things in the US. Name it after racetracks, please.
Yeah, the EIR version of the software. But one thing, have you used Sonoma yet?
I just literally updated. The moving desktop was kind of cool.
Neat. I don't care about that.
Okay, well, I just literally did it.
But what's super cool is now when you click anywhere on the desktop, it clears the desktop. So you all of your windows go away.
How do I do this? Oh my God, you're right.
It's the coolest thing. And now I can't do it because something's messed up with the operation system here. It's great, but for some reason it's yeah, I don't know what's going on. When I'm mousing over things and I get all
I feel like you maybe have like an alert or an advisory or something you have to acknowledge on something.
But I can't because I can't click. I can't right click anything. I can't left click. I can't actually shut the show off.
What happens if you press? Hold on. We'll just do this.
Anyway, thank you, everyone. We're going to keep mucking around here. Sorry to drag you through this. Again, be back next week. I'm going to be here for a while longer because I can't turn this off.
And if he gets at least 4 votes, I'll be back to you.
Gets 4 votes for what?
Bringing me back.
Oh, is that what we need to? Well, now there's nobody watching. So this might be the first time I have to edit the show to cut the end off because this is just, I can't do anything. So.
Okay, tech support's coming. Don't worry, buddy. I'm coming.
I can't turn cameras off. I can't minimize screens. I can mute your mic. I can take mine off.